So here we are. Fire Emblem. It's funny. Of all the franchises that I talk about on this channel, it always seems to come back to Fire Emblem, doesn't it? In some way, shape, or form, it just seems to come back to Fire Emblem. How many times have I mentioned Three Houses, for example, over the course of multiple streams? Even in Final Fantasy, I can't get away from it. Final Fantasy used to be the franchise that was like that for me, where I would constantly be talking about it. Now, I am not a Fire Emblem YouTuber. Huber, you know. I don't even know the proper term for that, so is it FE tuber emblem tuber? I don't know. Anyways, I'm not one of those. I'm not. I am more of a variety show. Now, to be fair, I could just narrow my focus down to just JRPGs. In fact, I have thought about doing that for some time. Just have, the reviews, the stream reviews kind of phase out. And what's funny is that I kind of am starting to agree with the lore runner on the whole. Well, let's just phase out the game reviews a bit more and more, and just stick to movies. Movies and TV shows. By the time you're watching this, I will my Yu-Gi-Oh videos will have started to go live, and this will be well into season one. You know, this will be well into that. In fact, I can look at my calendar here. But yeah, you'll be well into season one because season one is like 5 months, right? And this will probably go live probably in the second month because this season of Wolf's is meant to be 17 weeks long, essentially. And then there will be a bit of a gap, and then my videos on the Final Fantasy series will hopefully start going live. Which reminds me, I still need to record for the Pixel remasters. For me talking about the Pixel remasters with Esther's FF2, FF3, and frickin' After Years. Which I might do like a separate like companion video to that one to just kind of get my thoughts of the 3D remake out there because I don't want to lump the 3D remake in with After Years because the 3D remake is not After Years is not the 3D remake's fault by a long stretch. Regardless of any of that, we're not here to talk Final Fantasy. We're here or Yu-Gi-Oh. We're here to talk about Fire Emblem Blazing Blade. Now, let's touch on the name briefly. I have heard multiple translations of that name. Blazing Sword, Blazing Blade, the Blazing Sword, the Blazing Blade. I will just call it Blazing Blade because that seems to be the most accepted, accurate. I should turn my monitor off. That would be the most accepted. That seems to be the most accepted translation, Blazing Blade. This is, of course, the one with Lyn. Now, I'm going to say something very controversial, and it'll get all of the fucking Lyn Simps off my back. I hate Lyn. Well, I shouldn't say hate. Hate's too strong a word. I don't like Lyn. I find her personality is not very engaging. I find her to be absolute fucking trash as a unit. That part I won't fucking back down on. On I think she is trash as a unit, and her campaign is easily, regardless of difficulty, the absolute fucking worst campaign in this game because there are three campaigns. There is Lyn's campaign, there's Eliwood's campaign, and there's Hector's campaign. Hector's is, of course, the best. No, I didn't go on Hector hard mode, but even I can sit here and say, no, Hector mode is actually where it's at. Hey, gameplay wise. Oh, so good. So good. Hector mode, even if you just go Hector normal mode, is hard. Is hard mode. And I mean that sincerely. Really, because Hector mode is the challenging route, right? And then Hector hard mode is like the equivalent of Resident Evil's professional difficulty, right? I love that. The difficulty options in this game are actually really, really good, and I like that they expand as they go along. On, right? So, yeah, that is how that is. Let's see. I'm just checking for any gameplay notes here. I didn't take a lot of notes. I only took 2 pages of notes. Huh. Anyways, the you know, now granted, a lot of the standard fare is there. It's just, yeah, no, I don't find Lyn interesting as a character. I don't find it. I don't find her campaign very, very intuitive. And to be honest with you, and I know I'm going to get some flack for this, I don't think this cast is very memorable. I'm sorry, I don't. I don't think this cast is very memorable. I want I kind of was hoping this cast would be memorable, but I don't remember most of the freaking characters. Characters, right? There are a few, but again, that's not because of how memorable they are in the game. It is because the internet has crammed these fucking characters down my throat hard for the past decade. So it's kind of hard to forget when the internet won't let you forget. You know? I mean, how many time, okay. Like, let's take Fire Emblem Heroes for an example. And this will require. Actually, no. No, this doesn't require me to turn on my monitor because I don't have internet on my computer right now. Stupid tech issues I'm not going to bore you with right now. It just has to do with the fact that the Wi-Fi adapter on my on my computer's tower is absolute gutter trash. And that's all you need to know about that. While I bring up the Fire Emblem wiki. So, because I want you to understand how awful Lyn as a character really is. Okay? I want you to understand this, okay? So let's look at Lyn here. Alright. How many versions of Lyn are there? Here, let's take a look, shall we? 1, 2, 9. She's got 9 ults. In frickin' Heroes. Now you might be saying, does Camilla have more? Maybe Camilla from Fates, does she have more? Maybe. But that's still 9 ults when there are characters who aren't even in Heroes yet. And I'm sorry, it'd be one thing if she was like one of the best characters in the franchise, the kind of memorable character that is well written, well done. But the thing is that 9 fucking versions when there are characters who are waiting to get into Heroes. 9 versions of her. That's disgusting. That is absolutely fucking disgusting. Right? Now, I know people joke about frickin' Awakening being a waifu simulator, and in terms of like the ability to support with anybody, yeah, it kind of is. To support with anybody and have kids with anybody, it kind of is, yes. But the big problem I have with Awakening, the big problem I have with Heroes, with Lyn having 9 fucking versions in Heroes, is exactly the opposite, which is exactly the problem I don't have with Awakening. With Awakening, yeah, it was a waifu simulator, but there was like a fuck ton of waifus to choose from. Do you prefer your dark and creepy stalkers? There's Tharja. Do you prefer your muscular women who will slam you into the ground if you're slacking off? You got Sully. Do you prefer your dainty flowers? Or you got Sumia. Although, you know, Sumia is a rose, so beware of those thorns. Do you want a perfectionist wife? There's Cordelia. Do you want a proud warrior who's very, territorial? Pane. Do you want somebody so devoted to her, do you want somebody so totally devoted to her family that she will bend space and time across her knee and spank it? Well, then you have Lucina, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go through the whole list. Yes, I kind of just wanted to pick out the different personality traits, right? I mean, hell, there's even a tsundere in that cast, you know? Now, whether or not she's tsundere or soon, I leave up to your interpretation. Personally, tsundere. My interpretation of Severa is tsundere. Hey, not soon. Now, I guess I should define that real quick because some people might be like, well, what the fuck's the difference? Tsundere is bitch. There's no nice way to say it, just bitch. It's just straight up fucking bitch. Soon is there's actual depth to them. There's comedy. Usually it's comedy, but for the most part, it's more. There's depth there, right? Like teases Compass 5-1 and teases me all the goddamn time on stream about has teased me like he's totally soon. It's like, but again, he means that affectionately because there's more than just I'm an asshole. Which is funny because in many ways, if you really nitpicked me, like if you met me and it's like, yeah, I'm an asshole, and you nitpicked that, you could easily nitpick that. You know? I don't want to get into that. I'm probably going to retract that whole thing. So, hey, if Future Alex has just put a dissolve effect up, let's just say there was a whole, to get back to the whole point, I will, I am not a complete jaded asshole. I'm pretty jaded. I'm not going to lie about that. I am pretty cynical and I am pretty hated, but I have my limits to how jaded I really am, because there was a situation that I resolved, right? That I actually had the power to do something about. When I actually have the power to do something about it, that's when I care. Because, hey, I can actually do something about this. Instead of not being able to do fuck all. Which is usually why a lot of controversies on the internet just make me want to say, blah. Okay, so there's four more things I want to talk about before we get into the spoiler section. Let's talk about why I hate Lyn mode and why it's the worst fucking campaign. It is a forced tutorial. Now, let me go ahead and say this bluntly, because I have actually been challenged on this one in the Lore Runners chat. I've been challenged on this. This one person in the Lore Runners chat that tried to challenge me on Lyn's mode because you only had to do it once. Here's the thing. You know how many times people who have bought and played all the versions of Fire Emblem of Blazing Blade have had to go through Lyn normal mode, the forced tutorial? You want to know how many times they've had to do that? 3 official times. I had to think about that for a second. 3 official times, 4 if you count emulation. The first is on the original GBA. The second, of course, is being emulation. So I'll only count the 3 official ones. Once on the GBA, once on the Wii U Z Shop, once on the Nintendo Switch Online service, with no option to switch to skip it. Lyn normal mode is awful. It is crap. I gave something stupid like 23 negatives. Actually, this one I can actually pull up because I have the document saved locally. All right. So let us go ahead and scroll down to my gameplay negatives and see how many negatives I gave Lyn mode. Shall we? So let's see. I gave Lyn mode a triple negative for being forced on you. I gave Lyn normal mode a triple negative for being a hand-holding tutorial. Let's see. I gave a triple negative to the Wallace thing. I'll get to that in a minute because that really needs to be discussed. And then I gave chapter 10 and a negative, and then I gave the intro in general a triple negative, which I counted as Lyn mode. So let's see. Hey, how many was that? That was four triple negatives, and a single negative that Lyn hard mode would basically shrunk it to 13. I gave Lyn normal mode in general, well, Lyn mode in general, I should say, 13 negatives. That's insane. Now, I know the Lore Runner has given more negatives to intros before. I know he has. That's right. I don't know what his record is, and I don't want to look it up, but 13 negatives. That is how much I despise this intro. The score was dragged down 13 points. Gameplay, and that's all on the gameplay. The story's kind of we'll get there, but the gameplay is so boring of Lyn mode because again, you're forced to do specific moves. And the thing is that even if you're kind of a novice to Fire Emblem, you're looking at those moves that the game is forcing you to do, and you're like, but that's a shit move! What the fuck? Right? The only way I could see you not thinking it was a shit move is if this has been your first video game ever. Like, if this had been the first time you had ever been in, dealt with strategic gameplay before, right? And even then, I'm just kind of sitting here like, what the fuck, So yeah, Lyn normal mode sucks. Because you keep getting forced to do things you don't want to do. Because because there's such obvious, it's such obvious crap, right? I only have a sword. I'm gonna go attack a freaking a freaking lance unit. Are you fucking stupid? Don't answer that because I believe that is sane. Yes. Sane. We'll touch on this more, but Sane's an idiot. And that's all I want to say about that. What else do I want to talk about? What else do I want to talk about here? All right. I suppose we should. I guess I'll mention the other thing first. I really liked fighting the dude in chapter 10, the boss dude whose name escapes me, and I don't even think I wrote it down. Lundgren. I did write it down. See, without writing it down, I never would have remembered. Excuse me. So you're fighting Lundgren, and I had Wallace basically get up to general, by basically just sitting there constantly. And I loved it. I was like, yeah, this is fun. I did so because I wanted to, because it was fun. It wasn't forced on me like it was in normal mode. Because in normal mode, Wallace is at level 12. And as soon as he shows up, he's like, use my Master Seal. No, I want to save that. Use my Master Seal. Fuck off. Ugh. And the game will not let you proceed until you use the Master Seal. And anyone who has played classic Fire Emblem, pre-awakening, I'll say, anybody who's played pre-awakening knows with 100% certainty you don't level the character up until you don't rank the character up until they're at max level, because otherwise you are denying yourself multiple stat boosts, and in this case 8 whole levels of it. That's disgusting. Now you could say, but Blue Wolf, aren't the stats you gain random? Random and based on growth rates? Yes. But that is still 8 potential increases of stats that you are leaving at the door. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Kidding me? Not to quote a much better game or anything, but, don't leave it, if you have a useful sword, don't leave it in its scabbard. Ever, Like, fuck. Ugh. And then there's here, right? So yeah, that's Lyn mode. It's absolute crap. Elliewood and Hector's campaigns are a lot better. I suppose I should explain that. Hector mode is the one I will go, because Elliewood mode is basically just typical Fire Emblem, right? Hector mode is more of the challenge run. There are specific, they don't just have you do the entire campaign again, but from Hector's perspective. No, what they do is they give you a whole other campaign. There's different maps, there's different there's different story beats that happen. There is actual differences between Elliewood and Hector mode. That's good. That's good design, because you are actually rewarding the player for going a different route. Are some of the maps the same? Yes, because this is a GBA cartridge, and we need to save some space on the GBA cartridge, so we'll just redo the map. Yep, that's an easy fix. That's easy enough. I am not actually upset that they've reused maps, because there are specific maps that, should be reused. Because they're universal. Why would you do a different map for, say, hey, the first time Kishina shows up in the Gaiden chapters, for example, right? Why would the fight on the boat be, super super different? Now, it's the same map, but they reposition the enemy units, so it's a different map. But at the same time, it's still the same map, which is fine. Which again is fine. We don't need to go Sacred Stones on this thing, which actually had full on other locations and other maps. Maps, right? I'm not actually against reusing assets when it makes sense, when it is a cost saving measure, right? And there are ways to do your cost saving measure without having to really redefine it, because like I said, same map, exact same background, but just different position of the units. I was surprised how much I liked Hector mode. I'll be honest about that. It was very interesting. I also don't like the desert maps in this thing. Living Legend comes to mind immediately. Hate that map. I think Night of Farewells was the... It was the map where you can recruit Jafar. That was actually Nino and Jafar. That was actually kind of a nice one. I also really like the final battle. That was really cool. And I will save that point for the end. Okay. I have not been talking for very long, but I am done. I am actually done talking about the gameplay. Oh, wow. I say I haven't been talking very long. I've been here for 30 minutes now. Of course, obviously, I'll have to chop out some stuff like that statement I made that, you know, eh. But at the same time, but at the same time, I mean, the gameplay is actually solid of this game once you get out of Lyn mode. But the problem is that it, in terms of the overall game, the overall uh, thing, the overall, asking of the player. Here, Lyn mode lasts 10 chapters. 10 chapters is, for all intents and purposes, for all intents and purposes, roughly a fifth of the game. You are asking your players to go through a fifth of your game and have that be the worst aspects of the game before they get to anything good. In what fucked up universe does that make any sense? You know? Now, I know that I know I shouldn't pull the, oh, it gets I shouldn't be disparaging the oh, it gets better later, thing, because, there are plenty of games that have kind of a slow beginning. I'm okay with a slow beginning, but make the slow beginning interesting. Because as we're going to discuss in the spoiler section, Lyn mode fails even on the story front. And Lyn mode because Lyn mode is where all of the worst aspects of the story are. Well, no, I'll stand behind that. All the worst aspects of the story are in Lyn mode. All of them. Every single bad plot point is all in Lyn mode. Good. So, yay. Let's see. So, this is your big spoiler warning. Spoilers. Okay. Oh, I guess I never talked about. I never talked about that part. You know what? We'll talk about that when we get there. So Lyn mode sucks. It is the first time, also, to kind of talk about one last thing in gameplay, because I forgot, because I'm an idiot. The Monogatari, right? The Monogatari can break. Why? This is something that I'm glad Awakening, a problem that I'm glad Awakening does not have. In fact, actually, what's funny is only one of my favorite Fire Emblem games actually has that as a feature. Has breakable legendaries as a problem, and that's Sacred Stones. All of my other favorites, Awakening, Echoes, Three Houses, they don't have this problem. Now, before you go jumping down my throat about Three Houses, you can repair the Sword of the Creator and the other relics too. So they are breakable, but there's a second one. So if you want to get technical on me, there's two. Two of my favorites have this issue, but the other three do not. Well, two. The other two, because I named four. But anyways, so yeah, we meet some characters that are both interesting and suck. I mentioned Lundgren as the villain. He's garbage. The Avatar character, I have nothing to say about. He's just kind of a representation of the player. I will say I like when they look at the camera and address you, the player. That actually is kind of nice. Sane is a womanizing sack of shit. Kent is the straight man. Then we encounter Florina. She is adorable, and I love her. I don't really have much else to say other than the fact that I turn cinnamon rolls into death machines in these games. That just keeps happening. And that just keeps happening in this game, in these games. I've done that with Florina. I did that with Nemi in Sacred Stones. I do that with Bernadetta every goddamn time I might play Three Houses. I can turn Marianne into that, and if I focus on her. Um, freaking Jenny yeah, Jenny in Echoes. Echoes. I guess Silk is sort of, but I see Silk more as a refined woman, but that's just me. Uh, hmm. Sumiya in Awakening, right? Like just all of these characters where you're like you don't think they're gonna be you don't think they're gonna be you think they're gonna be delicate flowers, but then they end up turning into death machines, and it's like holy shit. Uh, Will was alright. It was just kind of there. Dorcas was okay. Sarah is the worst fucking cleric in the entire series. Like seriously, seriously. Like I have my issues with Maribel in Awakening, and I do mean in issues. Oh my god. I have my issues with Maribel in Awakening. I do, but she doesn't compare to Sarah. Sarah is Sarah is what happens when uh, it, Sarah is what happens when you take something that that you need to be very careful in order to make it work, and you don't put in the time, effort, or anything to make it work, right? An uh, arrogant. I shouldn't specify gender because male characters can go through the same thing. An arrogant character is something you need to write very, 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 very carefully. Okay. You need to write the character very carefully if you're going to write in your have a character be arrogant in your setting. Because here's the thing. You have to have them well, first of all, you need them to actually be arrogant. That's the first thing. And then you have to have their arrogance be somewhat justified. So that way their swelled head, it makes a degree of sense. And then you also have to have the character be torn down in some way. I got some flack in the lore runners chat that because of expressing my disdain for the character of Groose in Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. And I stand behind that statement. I don't understand why Groose is popular. I don't, and I never will. Groose is, is an arrogant asshole who is constantly, like, yes, he does suck. Sorry, I hit pause by accident. Whoops. Anyways, as I was saying, the way you make Groose work is you have him, be like, yeah, I helped you out at the end, and right, and we rocked it, right, and then have Link just kind of, say, hey, we did, thank you, Groose. Maybe even just have that be, the one dialogue option that you pick, and just have Link say, you did help us, Groose. Maybe have like three dialogue options you can choose from because Skyward Sword does that, and then have one of them be "We sure did." Another one being, I mean, we did. thank you, Groose. Or have a third one be, I couldn't have done it without you. Who? Right? Because then all three of them are acknowledgments that Groose contributed. And then have Groose just be like, ah, shucks, thanks. Thanks, Maybe I'm talking out of my ass and that is what happens, but but I don't remember it being that. I don't remember that. It, because you would think all of the Groose lovers would mention that, right? It would mention his adorable reaction or whatever, Regardless, regardless of any of that, that is gonna bug me that I had that paused. Anyways, but regardless of any of that, that's how you make an arrogant character work, right? You have them humbled at the end, even if they still have a bit of their arrogance intact by the end. If you humble them even a little bit, then that's better because then you're humbling them and making it clear that they don't think they're the center of the universe anymore. You can still make them allow them to think they're top shit. They're tough shit and all that. But just you know bring it down. Then there's Eric, who's with her and is just looking for Priscilla, who we meet. Did I even write her down? You're kidding. I didn't. Well, that sucks. Looks. Anyways. But then we meet Raph. Raph, who was a fan favorite for some reason. I'm neutral to Raph. I don't have anything to say about him. Then we encounter Nils, the first of the twins, who wants to go off and save his sister, which is all right. We get hints of the Black Fang. We're introduced to Eliwood, who saves Ninian, which is awesome. Then we encounter Wallace, and then we head towards the endgame. Aim of Lyn mode. There's my note about Eliwood being better than Lyn. Marcus is our pre-promote. Out. Rebecca's our little archer. There's a lot of characters who I don't really have a lot to say, so I'm just kind of blazing through. So then we go and we deal with Eliwood's campaign in the search for his father, which is actually kind of nice. I like that motivation. We meet up with Hector. Some dumb dialogue happens in Hector mode. Hode. We rescue Merlinus, who becomes our convoy, which is just. I'm okay with the idea of Merlinus. I don't know. I just prefer to just have the Lord character be the convoy character, or the main character be the convoy character, So then Layla reveals that she actually kept Lyn's grandfather from dying because she's awesome, and dies way too fucking quickly just to establish Jafar as a threat. I hate that. Then we gotta set sail for the Dread Isles, so we go and talk to Fargus, who's a pirate captain, and which leads us to Dart joining us. No, not that Dart. Hurt. So then we get to the Isle to try and confront Nurgle and stop all of this crap. And this is where Eliwood's father dies. Because this is where we got to talk about the substance known as quintessence. So what Nurgle is doing is that he is draining life force from people in order to fuel his spell and his dolls, so that way he can call forth the dragons and destroy the world. Nurgle is evil. Let's just be honest about that. Oops, I keep bumping the desk. Ugh. Nurgle is evil. Let's be honest about that with ourselves about that. Nurgle is evil. There is a part of him that could have been good, but I like to think that he just kind of slowly lost his mind because of the very nature of dark magic. Dark magic in Fire Emblem, if you're not familiar, can be a corrupting force because the dark arts are of darkness, right? Because no, not to say the darkness always corrupts, but essentially it's like the dark side in Star Wars. It is so tempting to plunge yourself in there, but the problem is that it's kind of a corruptive force, right? And I feel that's what happened to Nurgle. We don't excuse his actions. We come to understand his actions, if that makes any sense. Nurgle is still evil, but we can pity him for falling so far, or right, for to become nothing more than a power crazed maniac. The destructive power of the dragon, because he wanted to rule over, he wanted to destroy everything because he had lost his mind. And in the end, yeah. Although I will say, hey, well, Nurgle may be kind of maybe an example of corrupted evil. I would argue, Zephiel, or it's not Zephiel, is it? Ah, oh, fucking. Of course, I didn't write it down. One moment. Desmond. That was his name. Oh, it's Battle Before Dawn. Oh, and that's the thing. My bad. My bad. But yeah, no, Desmond, for example, and his wife. Those two are just fucking evil. Here, we're gonna manipulate a child because we're fucking egotistical bitches. Because we're fucking egotistical assholes. It's why Zephiel becomes the main villain. Spoiler alert. Of Binding Blade, you know. So then we get Living Legend, which is just, yeah. Then we meet Athos. Athos is pretty awesome. Awesome. We go and we deal with Nino. You know, we get different recruits, which I didn't really talk about in the gameplay section. Sonya, there's your evil one. Oof. You want to talk? You want to talk evil? Ugh. Looks no further than Sonya. Sonya. So then Ninian gets captured. We go and we get Durandal. Hell, or Armand? Is it Armads? Armads? It's in the other campaign. And then Ninian dies, which is just. And then she gets revived later. I know a lot of people really find that impactful. I think that scene would have been more impactful if Ninian had stayed dead. And I know how that sounds, but no, I really do think she should have stayed dead. Or have one of the plot points of Binding Blade be that she gets revived and then she helps there instead of here, you know? Maybe reveal that Ninian was was canonically Roy's father or mother. Father. God damn it, I can't talk today. Maybe reveal that Ninian was canonically thing. Because again, for all intents and purposes, if I'm not mistaken, it said that Roy's mother dies in childbirth, which is just which means if Ninian is the canonical mother, that means she died twice for practically no reason. Like what the actual fuck, you know? So then the fire dragon shows up. We defeat it, and then we go through Hector mode, which I've already talked about has made some subtle changes, and which makes the changes that I mentioned, and it's all good stuff. But that's all I really have to say about this one. Blazing Blade is a good game. A game that I don't like. It's not a bad. Well, okay. I don't think the gameplay is very good, but it's not a bad game. I don't like this game, but that's okay. I don't have to like every game. Just as you don't have to like every game that I like. I've said it before, and I will say it again. I would say if you are new to the series, this is a good jumping on point. As long as you experience the rest of the franchise. But if you're a veteran, I would say only if you're a completionist do you have to play this one. I know a lot of other people will cram it down your throat, but I think that's a lot of nostalgia talking. My opinion. You know? You never forget your first, right? Well, maybe that explains why an overrated sack of crap like Lyn is so goddamn popular. And yes, I will say that because I don't think her character is very strong and she is a Terabad unit. A Terabad unit with 9 fucking alts and heroes. I'm never gonna let that go. That's fucking stupid. There are characters that I would love to see get the heroes treatment, and they get benched because they get passed over for another fucking Lyn alt. The only way you could have done that worse is if Rhea gets 9 fucking ults before or any of them get in. She's got at least 3. I'll say that. I suppose to be fair, they have slowed down with the Lyn ults, but fuck off. And if Camilla's gotten way more too, then she needs to slow down on the fucking ults too. But anyways, I don't even follow heroes, so I don't even know why I'm bitching. But regardless, that's it for me. Next up, from your perspective, is Fire Emblem Engage. I've already recorded that video from my perspective. Yeah. Until next time, Blue Wolf Alex the Lore Walker signing out. Have a good one. See you around.